3, 2, 1.
My name is Nick. I'm a full-time trader and entrepreneur. We put out tons of stuff for free for traders. These are real trades. This is real money. I'm putting my money on the line. This is going to be a live trading video here, locking in over $1,000 on this trade. Wow, I'd love to get in on this. Technical insights that really look good to me. Here we go. We're live. Well, hello and good morning to everybody. How's everybody doing in the chat? We got a bunch of people hanging out already. Thank you for being here on a Monday. Hope you all had a nice weekend. I definitely did myself. It was kind of a chill weekend. Went and saw, what was the movie? It was Black Widow, which was kind of cool. I don't know if you guys have seen that or if you've been to the theaters yet, but the theaters by me they're opened up and everything is back to normal. So, you know, went to the theater with my dad and brother. It was a nice weekend. Hope everyone else had a good little weekend there. The markets are back open. We got some things to talk about, some stuff moving. So with that said, let's jump right into it. Hello in the chat to Andrew, Dave, Formidable, Ezio, the King. Good to see you guys. Thanks for being back with me here on a Monday. We've got a busy week in terms of stuff going on in the markets. So before I jump into the technicals, I do want to show you guys just from a news perspective. We'll go to this week on forexfactory.com. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to filter just the red folders here and check this out. Okay. Did I do something wrong? Hold on. Let me check this. Yeah, so we should go here, there, apply filter. Oh, that was last week. I was like, what the heck is going on? Okay, there we go. Here's this week. This week we've got a good bit of stuff that's going on in the markets. We got a lot of news that could be pretty market moving. Some of the key ones to point out: tomorrow we've got CPI numbers for the U.S., which could be big market movers for the U.S. dollar. We'll definitely keep an eye on that one going into tomorrow. Another big one for tomorrow is New Zealand talking about their rate statement. Can always be a market mover anytime you have a central bank head or leader talking about monetary policy or rates or outlook. It can always be a big market mover there. But just a big thing to talk about with the CPI tomorrow, we do have a forecasted 0.5% for the month over month. So if that comes out as better, it would be a higher rate. And then if it was worse, it would be, of course, a lower rate. So we'll see what those numbers come in as. Those have the potential to really move the US dollar. So the dollar could be a mover early on in this week. In terms of Wednesday, we have the Bank of Canada coming out with monetary policy report. Definitely a big potential market mover there. Anytime you have, like I said, anytime you have a central bank talking about their monetary policy or interest rates, it has the potential to seriously move the markets around. It can throw them into a frenzy. So I would be on the lookout for that. And so we will definitely be taking a look at some of these dollar, maybe some CAD pairs. And we do also want to take a look at the pound today because the pound is moving quite a bit as well. So stay tuned. I'm sure we will get to plenty of stuff today. We also, on Wednesday, we do have unemployment numbers for Australia. So this week seems really busy. So, and then in the second half of the week, you have core retail sales in the US, and you also have Jerome Powell speaking, which, you know, that's like probably one of the biggest market movers out there. So we will do our best to try and cover everything. Let's jump back over to the charts here and see what is going on. So the dollar is where I want to start today. The DXY here sort of pulled back pretty aggressively last week, but now we're seeing some strength come back in. This month just feels like there's been a lot of news. Andrew, yeah, you're right. I mean, it's been very busy. I would say that it's not every month is as busy as the other ones, but generally you have a lot of monthly things like CPI. You get that every month. You get unemployment numbers every month, right? So we do have quite a bit of news every month. It's just maybe you're seeing it a little bit differently because we've seen some bigger movements recently with the news. A lot of times news comes out and doesn't do a whole lot, but lately we've been having some fairly volatile news and some scary and some exciting numbers coming out from different places. So again, all eyes, I think, turn to CPI tomorrow for the US. That could be a big indicator of US dollar strength or weakness, so keep an eye on that. But in terms of a technical analysis perspective, you do see the dollar coming in hot here on a Monday, buying off of the lows, moving nicely here as we do see this thing rounding out and coming in with some strength here. The question will be, is it going to last? Is it going to break up to the upside and make it back up to here? I would say it's a pretty good path of least resistance. I would say that the dollar here is sort of in an upward trajectory. We're seeing the lows being bought each time, right? You're seeing lots of strength overall. And so for me, looking at this, I think a path of least resistance for the dollar is a float higher. But again, we have big news tomorrow. So, I don't try and like pile on positions right before news, but I also don't avoid news because I'm a swing trader. So I'll hold on to something, going into news if I'm a believer in it. If I have a really, nice trade going on, I may look to close a part of it or something like that. But for the most part, I hold trades into news just because I am a swing trader. But if you're a day trader, that might not be the best strategy because you might be, heavily leveraged and then all of a sudden the news comes and wipes you out. So please be careful with that. So with that said, I think that the dollar has potential to make its way back up, but if we look on the lower time frames, we do have some shorter term barriers that price seems to be struggling with. So here it is on the 1 hour chart, the DXY. This is the US, excuse me, the US dollar index. Coming in hot here, but really finding a little bit of rejection in this area so far this morning. We will see if it can break through that level or if this is going to actually hold. But I would say, like I said, watch out for trades like this, setups. Just path of least resistance for me is a move back to the highs because on the higher time frames, we're putting in those higher lows. We're showing a lot of strength and momentum. And for me, the dollar is a buy until further notice. Now, please remember, I say it all the time, I can be wrong. When I am wrong, I get plenty of comments about it. So, I'm not here to tell you that I'm always right, but my opinion, my analysis tells me that I think that the dollar is overall a buy on pullbacks right now. So I am looking for that myself. Speaking of the dollar, we can go take a look at some of the crosses. We'll take a look at Euro USD. So here's the euro against the dollar. We'll switch it to the daily chart first, and then we'll drop it down a little bit further. So the daily chart, you've got a couple interesting things here. Lots of resistance points. So you had this high back in early 2021. Then you had the lower highs here. Well, we put in a lower high here, and then we double topped right in that region there. I thought at the time that we would make our way up to 1.235. I was completely wrong about that. And we did see, well, I guess I was long biased on the euro during this time. So I was right on that call, but then we never saw the full length where I thought price could go, which was 1.235. So I was wrong on that part. And that just goes to show, like, you can be right sometimes, wrong other times. And the whole point of trading is not to be right all the time. It's about, when you're right, making it really count. So the euro, I talked about this level last week. And if we drop down to the 4 hour chart, we'll take a look here. So the euro dollar testing resistance right now does look like it wants to hold. So I would say that, again, just path of least resistance with the dollar strength opinion that I have. I think that the euro has potential to round back down to 1.18 and maybe even hit our target there that we've been mentioning on stream at 1.172, let's say. So with that said, the euro dollar to me looks pretty weak structurally. We've got lower highs coming in here every time price rallies. It's a fairly weak retracement followed by pretty strong downtrend moves. So, if this does decide to roll over, I think you have plenty of downside for the euro dollar. A lot of times people will say, well, Nick, it looks so oversold. Isn't it time to buy? But for me, as a momentum or trend trader, I'm usually looking at things that are trending like this as opportunities to look to sell, to look to go with that trend until further notice. So for me right now, looking at the euro dollar, I'm waiting for retracements. I'm looking for opportunities to try and actually sell this thing into the short-term strength, looking for that longer-term downward strength to continue, right? So with that said, good to see you, Bart. Thanks for being here. Are we safe to sell USD CAD? Maybe we'll take a look at dollar CAD, but I'm not here to tell you what to trade, by the way. I'm here to tell you what my opinions are. And, there's no such thing as a safe trade. Anytime you take a trade, you have to risk something, right? So if you're going to be risking something, you have to evaluate, is it worth the risk to me, right? The reason we put stop losses on, think about this for a second, you guys. A lot of people struggle with stop losses. The whole point with putting stop losses on your trade at all is so that you can stop a loss if it occurs. You're not saying, oh, I'm absolutely right, that's why I'm putting a stop loss. You're saying, I could be wrong, that's why I'm putting a stop loss. right? So many traders, myself included, when I was more of a novice slash beginner, it would be so frustrating to get hit by a stop loss. I would just take it off completely and be like, oh, I'm just, every time I get my stop loss on there, it gets hit. But maybe the entry criteria was not that great. Maybe I was meant to hit those stop losses, because sometimes if there's sometimes where you say, let's say I sold right here. Let me give you an example. Let's say I sold right here and I didn't put a stop loss on the trade, or let's say I did put a stop loss. Let's say I put a stop loss here. I shorted this thing, and then it rallies up and hits me out for a stop. And then I'm sitting there frustrated with it, right? And I'm like, well, next time I'm not going to put a stop loss on there, because every time I do, it just does this. It tags me out and then goes down. But then the next time you do it and you're like, okay, well, now I'm not going to put a stop loss on my trade because it just disrespects it and then it goes lower. So now you don't put a stop loss, and the next time you do it, it does one of these. And then you're sitting there in this ginormous loss and you're like, oh my gosh, I should have put a stop loss. Everyone hates stop loss when it gets tagged and then it reverses, but everyone also forgets that sometimes the stop loss can protect you from massive, massive troubles. So, just my opinion on that. I like stop losses for that reason. It does allow me to get out of some of the more ugly positions that I've had out there in the past, right? There's been time, like for example, let's say I was long biased on the euro dollar. Remember, I thought price was headed up to this level, 1.235. If I had bought with no stop loss there, it would have been a disaster, right? And since then, I've shifted to a sell bias on Euro USD. So that's the difference between, I think, myself as a new trader, where I would just hold on to losses and be stubborn about it. And then more as I've matured a little bit in my trading, I'm less like stubborn, I think, with it, but also even willing to flip directions and just, admit that I was wrong and move on. I think for me, just as a trader, reflecting on my own, past mistakes, that's been a huge stepping stone for me on my trading journey. What about the pound dollar? So the pound dollar was super strong towards the end of last week. And then right now we're seeing it pull back. Now, the title of today's stream, this is one that I was kind of looking forward to looking at with you guys. The question is, should we buy the dip on the pound dollar? Because take a look at the pound dollar here with me. What we see here is that we had this, really strong seller rally. Every time price would get bought up, sellers would come in and just buy this thing. I will say that it does look like we put in a higher low here, right? So we were putting in, here's a high, here's a lower high, right? Lower high. And then you kind of have this move here, which is sort of an ugly, arguable higher high. So looking at the pound against the US dollar, the question is this thing really going to, just roll back over and fall all the way back? Well, I will say that just from a technical analysis perspective, you also have a low here, and then you have a higher low, right? So if we're talking trends, I would say that this thing is kind of mixed. On the higher time frames, it's still sort of in a downtrend. If you're looking at it, scrolling out a little bit on the 4-hour and even the daily chart, you've got this sort of downtrend that we're going on. If you go super long term, you're looking at a long term uptrend right now. But I would say that right now it's very mixed. You've got this sort of going on, and you've got this going on where we sort of broke out. I think that if you're bullish on the pound from a fundamental perspective, there may be opportunities to look to retest and look to go long somewhere like here. I do like that idea personally. Please remember, that's not me telling you to go take that trade. It's just me sharing my thoughts. I always reiterate that, and I've said this many times on the stream. The reason I do is because there are new traders out there who watch my stream for the first time. They don't know what's going on in their trading, and they're just looking for somebody to copy. And please don't be that person. Don't copy. It's a really dangerous strategy. I have videos on that on my channel. Copying blindly is really dangerous in trading, because if you don't know why someone is taking a trade and you just blindly go all in on something, it's a disaster, right? Because no one is perfect. No one makes trade calls that are perfect all the time. Every beginner is looking for that. They're looking for the genius who can call out the market all the time and they can just make a bunch of money off their back. That would be nice, because then we would all just follow that person. But alas, that person is non-existent, because the reality is markets are, you can make educated decisions, but they are highly unpredictable at times. So you could be right. You can still make money if you're right 55% of the time. with proper risk management, right? Or 50% even if you have higher, stronger wins than your losses. But again, new traders, they're just looking for somebody who's right all the time, and that is not how markets work. It's very difficult to be accurate with your directional calls all the time. So just be careful out there, especially as a new trader. I would highly encourage you to paper trade, demo trade, whatever you want to call it, for as long as you need to before you feel confident, and don't look to go copy people. It's a dangerous strategy. So yes, Victoria says you need to understand the trade and why yourself. No one can always be correct. It's very true. So a message from Dade. Welcome to everyone in the chat. Please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more content. Yes, thank you, Dade. And thank you to all of you guys for being here. Appreciate you supporting the content. Obviously, I wouldn't be able to do this. I wouldn't be able to have this stream going on if it wasn't for you guys. This obviously supports my team, it supports myself and our lifestyle. Everything that we've got going on the channel for free is supported just by you guys being here, and the YouTube monetization and all that sort of stuff. So if you are supporting, if you're liking the content, you can support us just by subscribing down below if you're new, and also hitting that like button down below as well. It does help tremendously just to share this content with more people who are looking for free trading content. So with the pound dollar, I think I do like the pound, although I'm sort of just mixed personally right now. They had some dovish comments recently. I would love to see the Bank of England come out with something a little bit more positive before I'm looking to buy. But stuff like that could happen this week. And if that does, looking at stuff like that, I love those scenarios. You guys probably have seen me draw stuff like that 100 times if you've been watching my channel. I like the idea of walking steps up and just buying dips as it goes. So that's my approach to the pound right now. We'll take a look at dollar yen here for a moment. I do like dollar yen a lot. I'm currently long on dollar yen off of a dip. Shared that in the Discord here. I'll pull that up just to show you guys what that looks like. So let me pull this up. If you're not already aware, we do have a Discord channel for traders. If you're not in it already, there's a link down below in the description. I share all of my trades here. So what you can see here is that I went long on dollar yen, bought it off support, sort of an aggressive buy, but I did like it on the higher time frames. We found some strong support last week, and I am long biased, like I said, on the dollar, short biased on the yen. So I went long, shared the fundamental and technical reasoning with members, and so we will see how this one trade wants to go. It's starting out pretty strong, so we'll see if that can hold its own. With that said, if you're not already in the Discord, like I said, you can find a link down below in the description to sign up on our website. It's the first link in the description to sign up, and there's a promo code there for you if you want to get access for a cheaper price. So check it out. But yeah, I am dollar positive, dollar long biased right now off of the pullback here of the dollar yen. I do think that it has potential to really rally and make a move back to the previous high. And personally, I have a longer term target on the dollar yen of 112, which puts us pretty far away. You're talking 112 is all the way up here. That's a move. If it were to leap to that price right now, it would be 180 pips away, which is a dramatic move to the upside. But the dollar yen is to me, it's in an uptrend. This pullback was a nice dip to be bought for my strategy. I did not get in down here, unfortunately. I waited to see a little bit of confirmation and then was able to get on a dip last night. So so far so good. We'll see if that can continue to play out. We'll drop it to the lower time frames just to show you guys what I was looking at. So I had a couple of levels marked and basically off of the dips here, look to get into this trade. And fortunately have been seeing some strong rallies continue. Like I said, I think a first stop for the dollar yen could be a move up to 110.8, which is a pretty dramatic move. You're talking about all the way up to this level here. That's what, let's see how many pips that is. If that were to rally all the way up there, that's 55 pips on dollar yen, which is pretty good. Dollar yen is not it's a good mover, but it's not like the biggest mover. You're talking about pound yen, New Zealand yen, those ones move a little bit more. So that's what I'm saying with the dollar yen. So I do like that one long. I think that, like I said, targets here short term could be 110.8 and further up could be 111.6. And then my longer term target on the dollar yen right now is 112. And we'll go to the daily chart for that 112 reasoning. So 112 comes out of this concept here. So fundamentally, I like the dollar yen long because back here we had a lot of sell bias on the dollar. We had a lot of bearishness from the Fed with no interest in tapering or raising rates, at least that they were making public at the time. Then we sort of started drifting higher. We came up all the way to this level, and then we shot through the roof off of the news that the Fed wanted to look to raise rates aggressively towards the end of 2023, or twice before the end of 2023 was the wording that they used. The reason that that was so big is because, we're at a level where that's a very different situation. You're talking about a point back here where the Fed was very, very dovish. Then they switched to a little bit more hawkish over here. So to me, this dip was a little oversold. Now, like I said, as always, I can be wrong. I'm not a genius. I am not a crystal ball owner. So I can be wrong about this idea. But my main thesis is that back here, the Fed was dovish. Back over here, or just recently, the Fed turned a little bit more hawkish in my view. And so for me, what that means is that this dip was more of a retracement to look to buy for my strategy. This dip also lined up nicely with the trend line here to the downside or to the upside. You have this little level here. So I like the dollar yen for the long side, and I think that it has potential to rally up to 111.5. And the reason I say 112 is because that would be sort of a reasonable psychological level in combination with a higher high, right? So you've got a methodical higher high coming in here with the dollar yen, right? So if that were to happen, if you put it up here, that's 112. Right, it makes a lot of sense to me that it could hit 112. Now it's a big move, so I'm not, like I said, I could be wrong about that, but that is my thesis on the dollar yen for now. What I like to do with currency pairs is I like to sort of have a shorter term and then a longer term target for where prices could go should things continue with a trend that it's headed in. So that's my thought on dollar yen. Like I said, might be right, might be wrong. But I think where I'm at with it, I'm pretty comfortable with the risk that I've chosen to take. I think that it has potential upside, and we will go from there. While we're speaking about yen pairs, let's take a look at pound yen here. So pound yen popped up here off of the lows and finding a little bit of a pullback today as the pound is a bit weak across the board. We can pull up the currency heat map for a moment and just see that. Check this out here. We'll make it full screen so you can see it. So here is the website. You can come here anytime you want, a1trading.com. Check it out. Completely free tools to use for you. We do market coverage and plenty of tools for you to grab, like I said. So what we've got here is we do have the pound across the board looking pretty weak, except for the CAD in New Zealand, which are weaker today. We will take a look at some of the CAD pairs today as well, so stay tuned for that. But the pound looking fairly weak today. This is a tool that I use every day just because it helps me to kind of gauge how strong or weak a currency is across the board. So pound yen is struggling because, again, the pound today is just generally weak. So if we head back over here and take a look at the pound yen. So pound yen is sort of struggling at this level of resistance. Like I've mentioned a couple of times recently, the big thing for me with the pound is, or pound yen, is I'd love to see this thing start to actually break out of structure before I look to get long. I've been hesitant to sort of rush to anything here because it seems really choppy here. You had, big move to the downside, big up, big down, big up, big down, big up, right? So I'd like to see, before I get involved with something like this, I'd like to see some like more decisive movement here to the upside, right? So that is what I would say with the pound yen. For me, a sort of a signal to get long, if you will, would be, for me would be breaking out and then looking for some form of pullback. Of course, I will reevaluate it should it decide to happen or start to happen. And if I take any trades, you guys will see them inside of the Discord that is linked in the description. So that's my thought with pound yen. We'll take a look at euro yen as well while we are on the yen train. So euro yen really sort of underperforming some of the other ones. The euro yen has been down in the dumps. We did find support here off of a daily level. We could mark this real quick. So here's the daily level. Came all the way down, just tagged the 50% retracement and then shot back up. But I would say that, you do have a strong uptrend here, though this one is far behind the US dollar JPY, which is, has recovered a little bit more, and even further behind the pound yen, which has been really, really strong. So except for today where we're giving a little bit of it back. But for me with the euro yen, this one is overall bullish. You've got nice support down in this area, and I would say that watching for that to hold could be a nice little signal to maybe see a move back up to levels like 133, 132.5, something like that. And then if you're a bear on the euro yen, I would say watching for this to break could be a pretty big signal. If you got something like that, that could be big. What you'll see often is if you watch my stream long enough, I'm a momentum trader. So I like to see things start to get going in one direction, and then I look to try and join them with a calculated risk. That's like my entire style. So where we're sitting right now, maybe if we start to see continuation up, pullbacks, continuation up, pullbacks, that's how I like to trade. So, or on the flip side, continuations down, retest, continuation down, retest. That would be another approach. But for me, I'd be most likely short biased on the yen, meaning I'd rather go long against the yen, long on something, short the yen, just based on sort of the risk on environment that we're currently in. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. Let's take a look at dollar CAD today as well. So USD CAD, really an interesting pair recently. We've seen this thing just find a bottom, round off perfectly, and just launch. I think this is what you call a cup and handle pattern. I've never really traded that pattern or concept, but I think that's like your cup, and then that's got to be like your handle or something, right? For those who trade it or know what that is, maybe you can tell me, but I think that's what that is. It's like a rounded circular bottom, and then it just finds support. But to me, the big idea is that, you had this super strong downtrend. It does look like we are probably due to retest the 200-day moving average, which is just above the latest high. So if that were to break out to the upside, looks like we could tag that for a retest. And from there, you really probably get a decision as to whether or not sellers want to hold this thing, or if the buyers are going to have enough strength to actually break out and maybe start a longer term uptrend for the dollar CAD. We have dollar news tomorrow. We have Canadian central bank news on Wednesday. So we do have a lot of news that could impact this specific currency pair today. So, or not today, but this week. So be careful if you're trading this one, because it could be volatile due to news. Cup and handle, I'm checking it out. Yeah, so I think it is a cup and handle. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure. We will get to gold in just a moment. Don't worry. Everyone asks for gold every time we get on the stream, so I will get there. I'm just going through all the different rounds today, and then we will get to gold pretty soon. So stay tuned with me. So dollar CAD, like I said, if you get something hawkish out of the Bank of Canada, this thing could resume its, sort of push back down, right? If it's looking good for Canada, remember we are shorting the dollar in that case and going long the CAD, right? That would be a situation where the CAD strengthens, the dollar weakens. So if the Bank of Canada has something that's really positive for the Canadian dollar this week, could be a move to the downside for dollar CAD. Otherwise, could be the upside. So like I said, when I usually talk about news, I don't try and forecast or predict exactly what's going to happen with the news. Like I mentioned earlier, I do not have a crystal ball just yet. I'm working on it, but if I ever find one, I probably won't tell anybody, right? Because if you had a crystal ball, why would you tell everybody? But one thing I will say with the Bank of Canada is that they were the first ones to come out and talk about tapering and looking to raise rates. They really led the way in that department. So we saw really a dramatic sell-off of the dollar versus the CAD back here. So if we do get something that's fresh from them that reiterates their winning that sort of race, it could be very bearish for this currency pair. So I would talk about that if it does occur. You guys already know what I've been trying to do with the channel is cover the latest stuff, because I get so many questions about, hey, this just happened with the Bank of Canada or whatever. Can you cover it? So I've been trying to cover things more regularly. So we will see what we can do on this week. If anything major happens, I'll try and cover it in a video. So stay tuned on that. Let's take a look at gold, XAU, USD. So gold, to me, looks a little bit bearish right now. We are struggling here at this 38.2 level. If the dollar remains strong, I think that we could see prices retrace back down to the lows and maybe even form fresh lows. Just going off the higher time frame pattern where we have been seeing, this year after 2020. 2020 was a really good year for gold. You had a lot of strength due to, people sort of fearful around inflation and around economies sort of struggling and markets crashing, right? You had gold really profit off of that because people tend to, not always, but a lot of times they tend to buy gold over time when it's concerns around inflation as sort of a hedge to protect their money, right? So since then, though, since things have been really recovering, we've seen gold put in multiple lower highs and lower lows. What's missing from this picture is we haven't yet seen a lower low for gold. And if gold really got bearish, I think that there would be some decent risk to reward on the short side in the sense that you're looking at something like this, right? A lower low is like a move down to maybe 1600, right? Which is $200 lower on the price of gold. If it were to, really hold this level, you may have some decent risk reward in that situation. Like if you're a longer term swing trader on gold, here's a big position to think about. Like let's say you put a stop all the way back above the previous high, because you're betting, okay, there's probably going to be lower lows, lower highs, right? If you were to hit 1600 with that, you're talking about a massive move to the downside and a 2-to-1. That's a long-term short trade, but it's one of those things. If the pattern here continues, you've got higher time frames telling us that this thing is trending lower, right? That could play out. So it's not something that I want to happen because I do have longer-term positions on the long side for gold. So if it were to happen, it would be sad for my portfolio, but it's one of those things from a trading perspective. I try and remain as unbiased as I can with it. So that's the thought there with the gold market for me is, unless we can start seeing some breakouts to the upside and maybe even form a higher low here, gold to me looks like it's struggling to really, really rise. I think it's probably more on the sell side for now. So again, if that changes, if we start to see higher lows, breakouts to the upside, could switch back around, especially if inflation concerns resurface from the Fed, et cetera. So that's kind of where I'm at with gold for now. On the daily chart, on the lower time frames here, I bet you've got some interesting stuff as well. We'll switch over to the 1 hour chart today. So 1 hour chart is really choppy right now. If you're looking at this thing from a lower time frame perspective, you're looking at the 1 hour chart, watch for breakouts either way. I would say, you have this idea and this idea. We are closer to the low. So if we were to see something like this, watch for that breakout, maybe some retests and some good opportunities, like I just pointed out on the short side, if it starts to play out. Again, we're at that 38.2. We're at a retracement level that seems pretty strong for sellers. Unless buyers can show a lot of strength and get us back above those prices, I think that this is more on the sell bias for me for now. Again, like I said, I could be wrong, so please don't take that as like, oh, it's definitely going to do this or that. This is just my sort of if-then statements that I do as a trader when looking for setups and ideas. So yeah, so that's gold for me right now. AUD, USD, someone requested it in the chat. Slider man, I got you. We'll take a quick look here at Aussie dollar. The 4 hour chart. This thing looks really bearish to me too. You've got this thing putting in lower highs pretty consistently. So for me, I'm long biased on commodities this year. I have been for a while. I would like to be a buyer of the Australian dollar because it is sort of a commodities and trade based economy. So it tends to do well when trade and things like that are in the upswing. So before I do get long though, I'd love to see positive stuff from the Bank of Australia. I'd like to see some higher lows and signals to get long before I'm jumping in on that. So that's just my opinion with this right now. From just a technical analysis perspective, it looks bearish to me, right? It looks like it is putting in those lower highs on the 4 hour chart and probably due to continue back down to the lows unless we get some sort of news or game-changing thing. I think you do have some arguable support just below price currently. But again, I would call that like a weak support just because you've got those lower highs, lower lows, and a lot of resistance overhead. Lots of sellers seem to be stepping up to sell into this thing. So I would say, watching for the breakout to the downside is more interesting than anything for me on the Aussie dollar at this time. There it is from Dade. Dade says we've done the following things here. We've looked at all these different markets: the dollar index, the euro, the pound, dollar yen, pound yen, euro yen, dollar CAD, gold, Aussie dollar. all those markets. So you can check them out just by rewinding if you missed them. And with that said, guys, I think I am going to wrap up the stream here for today. Thank you so much for being here. We've got another show starting in just 25 minutes here with my friend Ryan. He's going to be going live on our second channel. Let me share the link to that here before I go so that you guys can watch the next webinar. We're doing a free webinar in just 25 minutes with Ryan. So don't miss that. Let me pull that up here for you guys. I'm just going to drop the link for you. Here it is. Drop the link right in here. So hopefully that works. I just shared the link there in the chat. So click that link if you want to watch the next thing. You could just click that link and then hit the reminder. How do I sign up for your Discord? Albert, like I mentioned earlier, it is down below in the description. This is what it looks like. All the trades that I take, whether they are good or bad, I share full breakdowns with fundamental technical reasoning, entries, exits, stop losses, everything that I'm doing in my account, I pretty much share here on Discord. So if you're not already in the Discord and you have an interest in joining our chat rooms, our live coaching webinars, our reading up on our weekly forecasts and research that we do, as well as the other trades taken by our other analysts, all of that is available down below in the description. It's the first link to sign up on our website. So with that said, guys, make sure to click that link that I just shared in the chat. Like I said, that is going to be going up on our second channel, A1 Trading. We've got another free webinar starting out soon, and I hope everything was helpful to you today. If you did enjoy, make sure to subscribe, like down below, all that good stuff. And hey, we'll see you back in just a little bit with Ryan starting in 20 minutes.
I know you were expecting Nick, but my name's Julie and I do the real work around here. I wanted to take a second to thank you guys for watching the show and tell you more about some free content that we offer. One of the things that we offer is a free email newsletter. So if you click the link down below, you can sign up for free market analysis, trading tips, and exclusive offers. Every once in a while, someone here at A1 Trading takes a crazy trade and you'll be the first one to know about it. See you guys next time.